Another week of talking about triggers and family. I would love... Oh, hey, Cody. I'm just getting set up here. Okay. Let me know if you have a question, friend. Okay. So, it's pretty much the same topic that I put here to talk about, and it's because it's one that a lot of people are struggling with. So that's going to be how to navigate triggers with family. And it's kind of the same conversation as the boundaries conversation because it all goes hand in hand. What it kind of comes down to, and what we're really learning in this journey, is how to navigate our own emotional experience of our lives, how to navigate our own emotional experience with other people, within a relationship. Relationships inherently have a challenging aspect to them that we're not taught how to handle, which is that there is you and there is the other, and you can't control the other. And so you have to find a way to live where you don't feel like you have to, no matter what the other does. We have to get out of the mindset that relationships have to be, that people have to behave exactly how we want them to behave in order for us to feel safe in the relationship. My intention is always to help you feel safe at all times. So even if there's a triggering behavior that happens, you don't need to change it because you feel safe. Welcome, everybody. I see, gorgeous hearted, that you have joined. Thank you, my dear, and welcome. I do have boundaries. That's what is wrong with these people. They want to hang out. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean, Lola, but there's nothing wrong with these people. If you think that there's something wrong with anybody, then that just means that you have to do a little bit of exploring into your own emotions and what is bringing up that experience for you. Sounds to me like there might be some anger there or some resentment. I think that one of the things that we often get wrong, hey, Sun Love, one of the things that we often get wrong, oh, thank you, my dear, I appreciate that. One of the things that we often get wrong about boundaries is that we think that people can cross our boundaries. The truth about boundaries is that nobody can cross your boundaries. Nobody can cross your boundaries because the only person that needs to know your boundaries and honor your boundaries is you. We can talk more about that. But I want to make that really clear up front because we're getting into this like messy territory where a lot of people have gone to therapy and learned a lot about how they've been victimized, and they've learned a lot about how they wish their parents or their siblings or other people in their lives would have treated them, or the kind of behavior that perhaps they feel they deserved. But then we get into the messy territory of trying to demand that behavior that we never got from the people that were incapable of giving it to us in the first place. And even more so, beyond that, we start to ask some level of perfection of people in our lives that is really not possible, and also not an empowering place for us to sit, because we're constantly trying to micromanage then how other people are showing up. Hold on a second. Okay. Let me just shift that. Okay, my dears. Thank you, Sun Love. Please do like and share the live, my dears. And please let me know if you have a question or a situation that's happening for you at the moment that is challenging that we can discuss. Because I find that most times people are experiencing very similar things. And as a collective, we're going through this really big shift right now, like a really big, probably the biggest shift that humanity has ever gone through, which is a shift from the old to the new, the old system to the new systems. But between the old and the new is the transition period that is challenging and tricky and scary. And we have to learn how to hold our peace within the chaos. And so if you feel like you're noticing a lot of chaos in the external world globally, you're not wrong. There's a lot of chaos in the global world. If you're noticing that there's chaos in your personal life, there probably is, because your personal life mirrors the collective experience. And our journey here is not to try to change that chaos. It's to find our peace within it. The chaos is actually a gift, because if we have the right tools, we can find our peace within the chaos. And do you know what you can accomplish when you find your peace in the chaos? Anything. You see, when I said just a few minutes ago that trying to control other people, trying to control behaviors, trying to even control your environment, we've gotten into this like habit of using verbiage like, oh, this space is not safe for me. Well, if it's truly not safe, like if you're in physical danger, yes, of course you should not spend time in that space. But if it's simply a space where there are triggers for you in the way that people behave or within the situation itself, my intention is that I help all of you to get to a place where you can actually be in those spaces without it affecting you. Because when you can be in the face of the things that have triggered you the most and they don't trigger you anymore, my darlings, you're unstoppable. There is nothing you can't do. The opposite, which is what we've kind of been trying to do, which is to control the spaces around us, to create safe spaces everywhere we are. We're constantly seeking safety. What that actually means is that we're constantly on the lookout for threats. We're constantly looking out for this person to like mess up. We're constantly looking out for like, ooh, this thing makes me anxious. I'm going to go away from it. We're trying to avoid everything that feels unsafe to us. And in the process, we don't actually learn how to sit in our peace amongst the chaos. And that's what I want to help people experience. Because to me, that's true freedom. To me, true freedom in your life is being able to be anywhere, anytime, and access that peace. That being able to access your state of peace internally, it's probably the most powerful thing that you could ever learn to do. And you can learn it. And I don't care who you are, what your experiences have been. If you are willing and if you love yourself enough, you will get there. But it does take the right tools. And that's pretty much one of the biggest things that it takes. It takes a really strong intention and it takes the tools. I have some of the tools listed, probably the most important ones. Tutorial video on feeling your feelings is the most important one in my link tree, and we can talk about that more. Okay, so Sunlove said, how to cultivate more self-love and acceptance while learning to manage and process anger. That's a great question. So, as a matter of fact, allowing yourself to feel anger is a really incredible act of self-love. Allowing yourself to have an outlet where you can feel the anger is an incredible act of self-love. Okay, let's talk about that. Hold on a second. Because I think probably there's a lot of people that can identify with the anger, and in particular the rage, because in this journey, rage comes up. Okay. So, let's talk about the foundation of self-love first, because if you really want to build self-love, and I know that's kind of like a what's the word? What's that term? What's the word that I'm trying to think of? It's kind of like one of those words that we use a lot nowadays, and like, what does it actually mean? I think what it means is to allow yourself space and outlet to feel all of your feelings, because when you allow yourself space and outlet to feel all of your feelings, you are allowing space for every version of yourself to exist, and you're allowing acceptance of every single version of yourself to be fully in existence. See, what we're taught to do is actually to minimize the parts of our existence that are uncomfortable for other people. We're meant to minimize the anger. For females, we're meant to minimize the anger. For everybody, we're meant to minimize fear, and perhaps more for men. So there's hurt, there's confusion, there's overwhelm. I mean, let's talk about shame and guilt. That's something that we're like, oh, that's really uncomfortable. So like suppress it, push it down, push it down. And really it's because of our external world is uncomfortable with those experiences, and they don't have the tools to teach us what to do with them. But anger, I think a lot of people are in the anger stage of their healing journey. So I love this question. But the foundation of self-love, first you have to build a foundation of self-compassion. Okay? Self-compassion, and this is why I teach the feeling of feelings practice first. And the anger practice really comes kind of secondary, but I think if you need it first, you need it first. And I'll talk about that next. So self-compassion means that I have enough compassion for myself that I validate every single thing that comes up for myself, because I have compassion for every experience that I have, okay? So we're feeling and validating our feelings. That's like the foundation, self-compassion. Once we learn how to do that, and again, that just takes some tools, and once we start applying the tools over and over and over again, then we actually start to build a second layer of self-trust. So self-trust is not, I trust myself to never make that mistake again. Self-trust is, I trust myself that no matter how many times I make that mistake, I'll always show up. And I will allow myself to feel what's coming up. Because the truth is, if you keep making a mistake, or if you see a certain pattern in your behavior and your choices, there's something there that you're not feeling, and that's why you keep choosing that behavior over and over. And so to fully feel what's coming up for you, and that experience actually breaks the cycle. So it's critical that you learn how to feel the feelings. But once you have implemented the tools of self-compassion over and over again, now you're starting to get to self-trust, because now you're like, oh, now I'm learning to trust myself that I'll actually apply the tools. Okay? Over time, we build self-trust. And as we build self-trust, that's what builds self-love. You can only have self-love if you've built these two foundations first. That's why the very specific tools that I teach are so critical, because they specifically allow you to build those two layers. And that's what you need to build self-love. Okay? So when we talk about anger, it's also it also ties into the boundaries conversation too. And by the way, I have a practice that is available in my link tree about anger. You can use the feeling of feelings practice for anger, but if it's like rage, you do need something different, and that's what I'll go over today. So first, I want to talk about noticing that the anger is coming up. How do you know you're angry? And everybody's going to have different experiences in being able to discern whether they're angry or what the feeling is. Oftentimes when we experience anxiety, what we term as anxiety, which is just a physical experience of an emotion in the body, but has lots of different characteristics like a beating heart rate, or maybe headaches, or maybe nausea, or maybe a stomach ache, or maybe sweaty hands, or maybe your inability to concentrate, irritability, tiredness, fatigue. Like these are all different symptoms that you might say, like, this is what happens to me when I'm anxious. What's actually behind the anxiety is an emotion, typically fear, and anger can actually be a root, not a root emotion. Anger can't be a root emotion, but can be an emotion that's behind the anxiety. So we can feel it when we're anxious. And there also might just, if you know your triggers well enough, you can catch yourself, because you should probably have at least an idea of what are your triggers. So like certain people often trigger us, and certain things that they do are often like pretty triggering, right? So maybe there's, your mom or dad or a sibling or somebody in your life that like you can't stand them. Like they say certain things, do certain things that cause you to have a reaction. So the first thing that I want to get us to be thinking about and understanding is that in that moment, we have to learn to catch our trigger and to not engage with the other person. So like if somebody says something, and typically we'd like try to defend ourselves to them, right? Like they criticize us or something, and we go right into defensive mode, or we go right into argument mode, because we're like, we're not going to let them get away with this. Well, that's a great place to try to catch yourself so that you stop engaging. Because the first thing I want you to try and do is to stop engaging. It's really hard because you want to say something back. But here's why I say that. Is because, first of all, we've all been there, and it doesn't ever really feel that good after, does it? Secondly, what I want us to get in the habit of actually doing is to stop putting our energy towards that person and actually take the energy of the anger and allow ourselves to feel it through the outlet that we're building. And that's what the tool is an outlet for the anger. Because that person, yes, they've triggered something for you, but whatever they've triggered is yours. It's not theirs. And this is a hard truth about being in relationships, is they do, and especially relationships of origin, family of origin relationships are the most triggering, because you have shared trauma with those people. You have a shared history with them, and it's not all pretty. So, when we can stop engaging and take the emotion back, what we're doing is taking responsibility for our own emotion. And I know it's really hard because our ego wants to focus on them, and our ego wants to focus on, well, they're not taking accountability for their behavior. But that's actually not your problem. But that is also where boundaries come into play. But that's kind of secondary to this conversation right now, because in order to get to whatever the boundary is, we need to, well, I said it's all tied in. So technically, if you're not engaging and walking away, that is a boundary for yourself. And it's okay if you can't do that. And it doesn't even matter. It actually doesn't even matter if you do engage with it. You still want to come back and do this practice for yourself. It's just over time, the goal is to just not engage. Okay, so it's hard. We want to hang on to the story. We want to hang on to the story of like, well, they did this, and they're not taking accountability for their actions. And you probably feel a lot of things like even perhaps hatred. And I don't want us to shy away from these feelings. I think sometimes when we try to like try to like lighten the feeling, we do ourselves a disservice. We need to feel the hate. So that brings us to the rage conversation. When we are going through this journey, actually a really important, really powerful act of self-love is allowing yourself to feel your rage. Please like and share the live, my dears, if you are feeling like the content is helpful. Now, I'm gonna go over the rage tool, but I also really encourage you, if you haven't gone and downloaded the tutorial on feeling of feelings that's in my link tree, do that, because that really comes first. This is sort of secondary, but I'm gonna still talk about it. So, since we're taking accountability for our own feelings, we've got to go someplace where we're going to be alone, where nobody can hear us. I think that going in your car is a great place to go, because you can just go sit somewhere in like an empty parking lot or something, because we're going to scream. You need to be able to vocalize and move the energy out of your body. The intention of this practice is that we move the energy out of our body, and that's through our words, and that's through the sounds that we make. That's perhaps through crying. That is perhaps through a physical thing that we do. So in terms of the physical thing that we do, because anger is a very active emotion. Anger is different than the other hard emotions, where anger, like you feel it like electricity in your body. It's like build, like you're going to explode. So you need to do something physical, and I don't mean exercise. So what I want you to do is, if you resonate with having rage, then I actually want you to right now find a piece of paper or a tissue. But I think a piece of paper is better. Go find a piece of paper right now, because we're going to do the practice together. Welcome, Lynn. We're talking about feeling anger and rage. Oh, Sun Love, I feel a lot of shame when the anger comes up. Yeah, that will happen. Learn boundaries this year and choosing myself, and I hate how others switch up when you honor yourself. You gotta feel that, my dear. That's the answer to pretty much everything. Okay, so do you guys have a piece of paper? Because I'm gonna move on. Okay, good. Just peachy. Yes, cool. Okay, so first I want you to sit and take a deep breath and breathe out. Take another deep breath, breathe out. Okay. Take 2 more deep breaths, slow in and slow out, and I'm going to actually get a piece of paper myself. Okay. Now, think of a scenario right now that's happening for you that you're really angry about. Somebody that you're really angry at. And feel what that feels like in your body. maybe you tense up. Maybe you can feel a tightness in your chest. So what I want you to do is I want you to take the piece of paper, and I want you to take all that anger and pretend that you're transferring it into the piece of paper, okay? And I want you to think of all the things that you want to say, and you don't have to scream this because we're not all sitting in our car right now. You don't need to do that right now, but you do need to speak out loud. So you need to be right now in a place where you can speak out loud, okay? And oftentimes if I'm in a place where I can't yell, I'll find myself clenching my teeth and just like saying things like this, like, ooh, you know, like, I fucking hate you, I fucking hate you, I fucking hate you, that type of thing. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so the piece of paper, we're putting all of our angry energy into this piece of paper. And we're gonna say all the things that we wanna say to that person that we haven't said to them, that we're not gonna say to them, but we're gonna say it. Because the angry energy is in our bodies, and we love ourselves way too much to keep that angry energy in our bodies. So we're getting it out right now, okay? So what should we start with? We're going to rip the paper and say, I fucking hate you. Say it out loud. I fucking hate you. 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 And keep ripping it. And go, and go, and go. And if you need another piece of paper, get another piece of paper. And then throw it. Okay? I think someone down my shirt. Do it again. Actually, let me get more. Because we're going for it. Okay? Here's what we're doing. I fucking hate you, I fucking hate you, I fucking hate you, I fucking hate you. Throw it. Okay? We're gonna say, you're a fucking bastard. How about that? Fucking bastard. You're a piece of shit. Say it. Say, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you. Okay? And then come back to your breath. See how like your breath has quickened? We're gonna come back. Breathe with me. Okay, check in with yourself. How does that energy feel in your body? Okay, breathe out. Like, let it out. Let the pressure out. Let the pressure out. It's like letting the pressure out of a balloon. Like, breathe in and let the pressure out. Allow your shoulders to slink, like to slump, to loosen. Allow your facial features, like loosen them, loosen your jaw, just okay. If it's still there, if you can still feel the anger, because sometimes it's deep, then you go right back to your paper and you do it again and say the things that you really want to say. Call them the names that you want to call them. Tell them they're pieces of shit. And say it while you're ripping it. And if you don't have another piece of paper, just keep ripping the freaking scraps. And then come back to your breath. Like the AI summary says, a guided meditation. It's not really a guided meditation, but sort of, I guess. Come back. Breathe with me. You might feel like tears forming in your eyes a little bit, because the pressure is releasing. That's a really good thing. If you find yourself getting teary-eyed, or if you find yourself that you're starting to cry during the process, that's a really good thing. And I want you to check in with your body. How does that tension feel? Does it feel like it's lessened? Another deep breath in and breathe slowly out. Loosen your cheek muscles. Keep taking deep breaths. Breathe out slowly. Allow your body to just fall wherever you're at. Just allow your shoulders to fall. Allow your hands to fall. And come back to your breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Okay. So check in. Do you feel like there's any more? If you do, you might want to do it again. Do it as many times as you need to until you feel like you've gotten it out. Sun love made me cry. Yeah, that's good, my dear. That's good. Very good. Breathe in and breathe out. So what we're actually doing here is we're allowing ourselves to pass the angry energy, to feel all of the hard things that are inside of our bodies, that we're holding inside of our bodies, that society has taught us that it's not okay to feel because it's not okay to say those things to that person. And the truth is, even if we said those things to that person and walked away, we would not feel better. It doesn't feel good to say those things to another person, but it feels fucking incredible to say those words because it's how we feel. And it doesn't mean that you actually hate them. It doesn't mean that, that you actually mean a fuck you. Although, in the moment, yeah, you do mean it. But you have to say the words because it's inside of you and you need to get it outside of you. So, hold on one second. Tell me how that felt for you. Tell me what else came up for you. I'm just fixing my cord here. Tell me in the chat what came up for you. Keep taking deep breaths too. This is not an easy practice. So if you did it, you should be proud of yourself. How did it feel? Anytime I do these practices, even as examples, I even feel like teary-eyed because I know what it's like to have that much rage and energy inside of you and how heavy it is to carry it. And how much it weighs you down. And so this practice is about having so much self-love for ourselves that we say, I'm not going to carry this anymore. I can't carry this anymore. Breathe in and out. And we give ourselves an outlet to feel all the things that are coming up, no matter what they are, no matter how scary they are. Because here's the thing, I've done this practice thousands of times. And it also never really means, as much as I say I hate you and fuck you, I still have relationships with most of those people still. And some good relationships. But I think you're actually only going to be able to move forward in that relationship if you're being honest with yourself. And if you're feeling a little bit lighter after that practice, if you're feeling like maybe some of the weight came off, if you're feeling a little bit like even like deflated in a way, what that means is that you're starting to get to what's underneath the anger, and that's really, really, really good. What's always underneath the anger is hurt and sadness and shame, like somebody said earlier, and fear. There's always other emotions that are root emotions. Anger is not a root emotion. Anger hides these other emotions. It masks them so that our ego wants to stay stuck in the anger, because then we can always tell the story and we can always point our finger and we can always think we're superior and we can always cling to the narrative that we're a victim and that they're our perpetrator. But here's where self-love comes in. We love ourselves more than we want to be a victim. The victim mindset is incredibly addicting. I want you to understand that. The victim mindset is incredibly addicting, because then we always have a reason why something that we don't want happens in our life. We can always point to a situation or to a person. And that our ego thinks that saves us from hurt, but it actually hurts us more. Because it masks us, it takes away our opportunity to explore all of the multitude that is our existence, that is our experience of our life. And these hard feelings are a part of the existence of our lives, and we need to feel them. And this is what it means to love every part of yourself. This is what, when they say you gotta love yourself, what does that mean? This is what it means. Because you have to love this part of yourself, the part that wants to say fuck you to these people, and allow yourself to say it because you love yourself too much to hold it in. But you're gonna say it. You're gonna get the energy out of your body because you're not gonna be weighed down like that anymore. You can't physically carry it anymore. And you're gonna show up and do that every single time. That's self-love, because that's you honoring every part of yourself. Even the hard parts, even the shame. But again, this is why I really encourage you, if you haven't downloaded the Feeling of Feelings practice, to go do that, because it goes hand in hand. Because, my friends, once you get through this anger and that deflated feeling, or that almost like that softness that you feel come back where you've gotten the angry energy out, that means that you're starting to access what's beneath the anger. And you need a practice for that too. Because now you need to be able to say, you know, parts of me are really hurt, actually. And of course I'm really hurt. And then you need to sit in that heaviness and feel the weight of what it means to be really hurt by this person that you love. Somebody that maybe keeps hurting you. Please like and share the live, my dears. Okay, I think I missed some comments. Sun Love said, uncovering pain regarding my ex, just expressing the pain of never feeling enough, going back to dad. Yeah. And you know what? This is again why it's so important, because it always goes back to the relationships of origin. how we were raised. And it might bring up feelings towards dad. And then I need to do the practices to feel that. Oops, sorry. Carrying it since a teen, yep. Purple hearts. Hey, purple hearts. I love myself too much to carry this anymore. Yeah, exactly. Not carrying it is the tricky part. My memory is powerful. Well, that's why these practices are all so powerful, though. Because when you do apply these practices over and over again, you're starting to tell yourself a different story. Because the story right now is that my memory is powerful. If you stop telling yourself that, if you stop telling yourself that not carrying it is the tricky part, and you start telling yourself, I love myself way too much to carry this, let that be the new story. Let that be the new anthem. And that means, what it actually means is allowing space for all of the feelings towards the memories, which is way better than just carrying them. You're allowing space for them to be fully felt. You're allowing space for that little girl in you to be fully seen. And for the deep hurts, my loves, it's going to take probably a few times. And this is where self-compassion comes in too, because now you can kind of sit with yourself and discern with yourself. Like, maybe that's enough for today. Like, a lot of the times when I do the anger practice, this was just one, by the way. There's multiple ways you can do this practice, but this was just one way. But sometimes when I do that practice and I'm in that space where I've gotten the angry energy out and now I just kind of am sitting with like the sadness, I'm like, I think that's enough for today. I don't have the emotional energy to go to actually feel the other, like the sadness and the hurt. Other times I do. But either way, I have the practices and I can decide at any given moment to use them. And that is self-love. Purple hearts, but that's because you probably haven't had a practice to get. You can't just send your body a message not to carry it. That's not going to work. You got to actually, that's why, with anger in particular, I said it's a active emotion. So you have to do something active like ripping up the piece of paper. That's why this works. Because you're doing something. You're welcome, Divine Amber Dawn. So, any questions about that practice? Anybody else want to share? I know we had more people on when we were doing the practice, but anybody else want to share what their experience was? Just Peachy, thank you. That is powerful. Good. I'm glad, my dear. I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah. It is really powerful. It's actually a radical act of self-love. It's a radical act of self-love because giving yourself a space and outlet for your anger, for the part of you that maybe is the scariest part of you, that's self-love. And that's radical. Okay, so Jay said, I guess a boundary for me is not allowing disrespect from romantic partners. Yes, that's a great example of how to not set a boundary correctly. uh, okay, I think before I allowed my ex-boyfriend to make comments about my family decisions in life. Okay, so that's not a boundary because a boundary is a promise to yourself, not a rule for other people. So stating something like, I don't allow this is not a boundary, that is a rule. You can have a preference, and it sounds like to me what you're stating is that you've learned what you will and what you want and what you don't want in a partner. And that's incredibly valuable and incredibly important. It's just not a boundary. Right, but again, the allowing of that kind of behavior, it's not because what it sounds to me like, if you notice that behavior, that person's not right for you. So you're going to not have a relationship with them. That's not what a boundary is. A boundary would be like, and boundaries, I don't really talk about romantic relationships in context to boundaries, because romantic relationships, you really, I mean, in a healthy one, you really don't need strict boundaries. You have more of like agreements on how you treat each other, how you act within the relationship. Boundaries are really helpful for pretty much everyone else, like your family of origin, for sure, even coworkers, even friends. So a boundary would be like, okay, here, this, my mom or dad, let's say, like, speaks to me in this, like, disrespectfully, like maybe they raise their voice, or maybe they like criticize how I look. So maybe I've asked them to stop a few times. Again, not a boundary. That's just an expression of need, or expression of hurt, expression of desire, whatever it is. And ultimately, many of these people prove that they can't do what you're asking them to do. And then that's when a boundary is put in place, because they've demonstrated that they can't meet you there. So in this example, if mom or dad raises their voice at you, or if they criticize you, your boundary is that what do you do? What's your promise to yourself in that scenario? My promise to myself is that I walk away. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about the non-engagement with the anger earlier, because what's really happening in that moment is that that person has triggered you. And it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole of like engaging with them and getting into a back and forth, or like, I've told you, like, please don't say that to me, or like, don't speak to me that way, or just yelling back. And that's not really helpful. But of course, we all get entangled in that at some point. But again, the goal is that when we're setting a boundary for ourselves, we're making a promise to ourselves. And my promise is that when somebody does this behavior, I do this. When somebody raises their voice at me, I leave. I don't even have to tell them I'm leaving. I just leave. And that's also how I'm building trust with myself. That's self-compassion. Boundaries is another great example of self-compassion. You're building the self-compassion foundation. And the more you do it over and over and over again, you're building self-trust, right? We build the self-trust layer to then get to self-love. Think about it like this. It's like when you're building a relationship with another person, right? Let's say like a friend or a partner, romantic relationship. You meet them, you connect by having compassion for each other, right? Like, you talk about your experiences, you talk about your hope, your dreams, your goals, all the things, and you connect through compassion for that person. So you're building this layer of compassion to start. The more that you show compassion and the more that you show up, now you're building trust with them, because you're showing them I'll show up, and they're showing you I'll show up. And really, you start to love a person, you fall in love, or you start to love a new friend when you've built enough trust in them that now there's love. It's the same thing, except you're doing it with yourself. You're building self-compassion with yourself, showing yourself that you're going to show up so that you build self-trust, and then eventually, once you've trusted yourself enough, you get to self-love. And then you keep setting these boundaries over and over and over again, or you keep honoring the promises to yourself over and over and over again, just like you keep applying the tools like the feeling of feelings practice, like the feeling of rage practice. You keep applying the tools over and over and over again. That is the path to self-love. I've just, literally this one live, I've just laid it all out for you. You're welcome. Jay, well, I guess if I turn this boundary inward, is I promise to never entertain disrespect. Yeah, so you could say something like that, like, but you have to name the disrespect. Like, it can't just be like a general thing. You have to name it. So, like, if and again, it typically has to do with a specific person. It doesn't always. Like, you could say a general statement, like, if somebody raises their voice at me, I leave. But typically there's certain people that are like triggering for us. So, but again, like if you've already left this person, you don't have a relationship with your ex anymore, like you don't have to have a boundary with, like your boundary, your promise to yourself is that you don't engage with them anymore, right? It'd be different if, and I don't know your situation, if you have children with the ex, then that's a definite situation where it's important to have strong boundaries. But again, they're promises to yourself. I think a lot of people try to get into that place where if they have children with somebody, they, you're still trying to like co-parent, or like, you're trying to force them to do stuff your way, or and there's a lot of hard feelings that come up. Again, why the feeling of feelings practices are so important. But that would not be a healthy boundary, because you're just going to cause yourself suffering when you realize you can't control them. But that's a whole other story. But I'm just saying, like, if they're an ex and they're out of the picture, they're an ex and they're out of the picture. Like, the boundary is, my promise to myself is I don't talk to that person. I don't engage with that person. But if you still have hard feelings towards that person, that's your responsibility. So your responsibility is your feelings. Maybe you still have anger towards that person. Maybe you still have resentment. Maybe you still have fear. That's your responsibility to feel. Well, I don't know why I'm pointing here, because that's not. I don't know if you were here while we were doing the rage practice, but I do have feeling of feelings practice and feeling of anger practice in my link tree in my bio. And I encourage you to take a look at those, because one thing that our exes can help us with is learning these practices to feel our feelings, because the only way that you're going to make a different decision in the future is if you've totally let that energy out of your body. You've totally released the energy that you have, any emotional energy that you have towards the ex, you allowed it to pass through you and learned your lesson. But it's not just about like learning the lesson, you have to feel the feelings too. Team Marie, I notice the pattern and I walk away and I really don't want much to do with that person. Okay, that's can be good. Okay, Dr. G, when my partner tells me it's my male best friend who she doesn't like or her, my boundary. Oops, hold on a second. I don't know if that, my boundary is no ultimatums, and I'm not getting rid of him even if she leaves. Oh, well, that kind of sounds like you made your choice then. But also, if your relationship is at a place where there's an ultimatum, then there's deeper issues. It's not really about boundaries then. Therapist insulted me. She said, we'll pick up next week. I said, no, we will not be continuing. Okay, Kathy. I don't think that's a boundary necessarily. I see what you're saying. Like you were insulted, so you left. I think what maybe what we're missing is that the idea that boundaries are actually a tool that we use with people who are still in our lives. Okay? Boundaries are really helpful with relationships with people that are still in our lives, that are kind of on a continuing basis in our lives, right? So it's not like if something happens once, or it's not like if something used to happen. It's like boundaries are present tools. All of these examples are good in terms of the way that you've honored yourself and what feels true and right for you. These examples that you all have shared, they're just not exactly boundaries. It sounds to me like they're just more experiences that have helped you feel empowered to make different decisions, essentially. And I commend you for that. It's just not exactly a boundary. Okay, so would you say boundaries are more or less a method of self-control, self-preservation? No. I would say that boundaries are a tool for a tool for authenticity, a tool for you to experience your own authentic self, and a tool for you to experience authenticity in relationships. Because when you're really honest with yourself about what you want, how you want to show up, because really what a boundary is, because it's a promise to yourself, is it is a promise to yourself about how you're going to show up, and then you honor that promise. You live in your authenticity. Let me give you another example. Okay, so I talked about this last week, but there's two different kinds of boundaries. There's like preemptive boundaries, and then there's boundaries that you have in the moment. Okay, so I kind of already talked about the boundaries in the moment, right? When somebody raises their voice at me, what do? My promise to myself is that I leave. That's like when a trigger happens, to try to catch yourself when somebody has triggered you. And then when you want to react, to try to catch yourself and keep the promise, whatever the promise is that you've made. It's not about let me say what it is about, actually. What it's about is not engaging your energy, not entangling your energy with that other person, because they're just providing you a reference point for where you're still not at peace within yourself. So if you're going to get to a place where you feel at peace within yourself, then first you need the practice of being able to feel the feelings that are coming up. So instead of entangling your energy towards that person in the moment, take whatever the anger is or whatever the hurt is and use your tools, which I have in my link tree, which I have taught on these lives, to actually allow yourself to feel the full experience of whatever's coming up. But we're not entangling our energy with another person doing that. We're keeping that for ourselves, because that is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to hold those feelings. And the truth is, if you're already at a point where somebody is not trying to communicate with you like in a way that feels good for you, that person's probably not the person that's going to hear you anyway. Or if you've already asked this person, like, hey, please don't do this, or hey, like, I really don't feel great when this happens, or can you please do like XYZ, like can you please not raise your voice at me? Can you please not raise your voice? Hey, I really don't feel good when you when you like comment about my weight or about my appearance. But if this person continues to show that they can't do what you're asking them to do, then they're probably not the person that's going to see, hear, and understand you anyway. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try. You certainly should say those things like, hey, can you please not do that? That's not a boundary. The boundary comes when they've showed you that they can't do what you're asking them to do. And then your boundary to yourself, you don't have to say it to them. You can, but you don't have to, because it's not for them. It's for you. Your boundary to yourself is, okay, when this person insults me or when this person raises their voice at me, I leave. I don't care if we're in the middle of a conversation. I don't care if I like just got there. I don't even need to tell them that I'm leaving. I just leave or I just hang up the phone. Maybe they try to call me back like, hey, what's going on? Pfft, no. Next time you see it, but then take whatever feelings come up, feel them for yourself. We're not suppressing anything. We're using our tools to feel the feelings that come up for us, but we're not entangling ourselves with another person, okay? So that's one kind of boundary, is the boundaries that come up in the moment. The other type of boundary is a preemptive boundary, which is you decide that your boundary for yourself, your promise for yourself is that this particular person in your life who is pretty triggering for you, you only see them once a year. You only see them in group settings. You only talk about surface level topics with them. Nothing emotional, nothing personal. You don't speak to them over the phone. Maybe you only text with them. So if they call, you don't pick up the phone, because guess what? Your boundary is that you don't talk to them over the phone. If they call you, you don't pick up. And they might get upset about it, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you might not feel anxious about it, because now you're like, oh God, they're calling, and like, now I'm not answering the phone, and like, what are they thinking? They're getting mad at me. I feel really anxious. I feel really like, again, anxiety, it's fear. So that's why you need the feeling and feelings practices. So you see how it's all related, my dears. It's really not that complex. Once you get the right tools and then you start applying them. Because then once you start setting the boundaries and honoring the rules, honoring the promises that you made for yourself, whatever comes up, it just comes back to using your tools. Because now that person's getting upset at you, and now you can use your feeling and feelings practice and be like, oh shoot, I feel really scared. Parts of me feel really scared because I feel like this person's really upset at me. And I don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of unknowns happening. I've never like done this before. And, of course I'm scared. We're feeling and validating. See how it works? So the two types of boundaries, the ones that happen in the moment, the preemptive ones. The preemptive ones, again, like this is really helpful for if there's family parties or something, or if there's, specific family members that are challenging for you. That's why I'm saying like boundaries are really for people who are not going to see, hear, and understand you anyway. Not fully. And actually, there's really only like maybe less than a handful, less than 5 people your whole life that you're really going to feel like will see, hear, and understand you. And even those people are going to let you down. And so you need a tool to be able to feel the hard feelings, because we're not just like throwing away people. We're not just cutting people off because they can't live up to what we want. When we start doing those kind of things, when we start to like just look for safe spaces, guess what? You're going to build walls all around you. And you're going to be alone. And that's not what life's about. That's not why we're here in this human experience. We're actually here to learn how to navigate this thing called relationship. And it is possible. And what we're actually here to do is not build walls around us, but to build bridges. But the only way that we can build bridges is if we're being honest and authentic with ourselves and building authentic relationships. That's probably going to mean in the beginning, when you first start this journey of setting these boundaries, feeling your feelings, it's probably going to mean you're taking away access to yourself of a lot of people. Removing access. Boundaries inherently mean removing access. That's why they're not a great tool in romantic relationships, because in a romantic relationship or a partnership, you want intimacy. So you want to come together. You want to build together. You want to go towards each other. With boundaries, it inherently means space and distance, increasing space and distance, emotionally, physically. And so when you're doing that, like that's not intimacy, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Jay, I do think that my deciding to stay with my ex was a lack of boundaries. That makes sense. But I definitely find what you're saying interesting. I've never thought of boundaries as promises to the self. I've always seen it from an exterior point view, like this person shouldn't do. Yeah, exactly, Jay. So I'm glad you're here because I think that this is a really important shift in a lot of people's understandings of boundaries, because when you say it like that, like this person shouldn't do X thing, what you're actually trying to do is control their behavior. And whenever you're trying to control someone's behavior, what that actually means is that there's an insecurity within yourself and a need to control something external to yourself because you're scared, because you don't think that you can handle it. But what we're trying to do is actually empower ourselves to say, it actually doesn't matter what this person's behavior is. I know I can handle anything because I know what my boundary is. I know what my promise is to myself. And this is what I do when this behavior happens. We're empowering ourselves. We're not trying to control. Control is not empowerment. Control is not healthy. Okay. Okay, Sun Love. Yes, lots of work. Yes, makes sense. Good, Purple Hearts. I'm glad. Would you say boundaries are a good tool to use for dating, selecting a partner? I think I kind of answered that. Let me know if that needs more clarifying. T. Marie, I said to Mom, we are not repeating last time. If the environment becomes negative, the visit will end. I said that to my mother, who I only see every 5 years, but last visit was miserable. Well, again, I don't think at this point, I don't think that you need to tell your mom anything. You know, I think that sometimes we get into this like space where we're like, let me tell this person how this is going to go or what I expect. Just like again, that's like trying to control. So just know what your boundary is and then honor the promise to yourself. And I would also say, like, feel your hard feelings towards your mom, because you obviously have some. So use the tools that I have to feel your hard feelings. And actually, I think that would also be a good scenario for energetic protection, which is also a tool I have available. I literally have 3 tools, and it's like pretty much everything you need. I think I missed some comments way back somewhere. Oh God, let me see. Oh wait, okay, Jay's, hold on. Oh, Jay said, I think before I allowed my ex-boyfriend to make comments about my family, decisions in life, about me, and as I've gotten older, I realized that ultimately allowing that kind of behavior was a direct reflection of what I tolerated for myself. That does make sense, actually. I think that's a really beautiful self-reflection and more about like a self-examination, right? Like that person has allowed you to examine some things about yourself that maybe weren't so comfortable to look at, but I think that's really wonderful that you use that experience to self-examine in that way. You see, from a spiritual standpoint, my dears, like we're all here to learn lessons, and relationship is one of the most important and impactful means by which we learn our spiritual lessons. So once we can really embody that, we can start to look at the people around us not as like perpetrators that have hurt us or that are hurting us, but as people who are meant to be our teachers. Because the people that trigger you the most, the hardest relationships in your life, they're your best teachers. And but you can really only get to that space, and don't you think that sounds much more peaceful? You can only really get there when you've felt so much of the hard emotions, when you've allowed yourself a space to feel and validate the emotions over and over and over again, that you actually trust yourself to do that, and you've allowed the energy to move out of your body. That's the only way you're going to get back to the peace. And again, this is a practice. This is an over and over. This is a lifetime commitment. Let me be clear about that. This is a lifetime commitment of practicing these 3 tools that I have available. And you will, over time, if you commit to the practices, you will get to a place of peace. Okay. I don't know. I think I missed other ones, but... Okay. Well, yes, I agree. Best teachers. LOL. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, 100%. I've only realized that as I've gotten older, like before breakups of any kind were just seen as, well, F them, I hate them. Yeah, and we honor those feelings too, right? We honor the feelings of F you and I hate them. That's literally exactly what we did today. I don't know if you were here, but that's literally exactly the practice that we did, was the anger/rage practice of when you feel those feelings towards someone. But then it's usually once you give yourself an outlet to feel those hard feelings, that's when you can usually get to like, oh wait, what's the lesson here? Like, what am I supposed to be learning from this person, from this relationship and this experience? And truly, like, if you want healthy relationships, which who doesn't, you got to get to a place. This is why it's all about authenticity. You got to get to a place where you're being so authentically you. And I know that maybe like that doesn't seem like it means anything. Oh, buzzword. That was the word I was trying to think about earlier. Authenticity is like a buzzword lately. But, and I don't, if you would have asked me like 7-8 years ago if I was being authentic, I'd have been like, yeah, obviously. So I don't know if we're ever like if we're ever fully aware of that we're not being authentic in a way, unless we're like outright lying and we know it or something. But I think that this journey, I think really what authenticity is, in my opinion, is doing everything you can to get to a peaceful state of existence for yourself. And then making your decisions so that they align with peace. And that doesn't always mean that you choose a route that doesn't produce anxiety. So that part is tricky. That part of the journey is tricky because it's like sometimes things will scare you and they're actually good for you, and sometimes things will scare you because they're not good for you. And this is where we also learn to build trust in ourselves, because we get to discern the difference of those things. Sometimes things make you angry because they're not really good for you. Sometimes things make you angry to teach you, and they're actually good for you in that sense. So it's not a black and white journey. But even more so, in my opinion, that's the point, because if it was so black and white, there'd be no trust in ourselves, because the right decision would always be obvious. But what I said earlier about self-trust, because again, self-trust is the second layer, it comes right before self-love. What I said earlier about self-trust is that self-trust does not mean I trust myself to not make that mistake again. Self-trust means no matter how many times I make that mistake, I will always show up for myself, allow myself to feel the hard feelings and validate them. That's self-trust. So that's also why it's okay that the journey is not black and white. It's okay that a lot of times we don't know the right answer and we have to work through it. And sometimes we make a decision that actually turns out not to be perhaps the thing that we had hoped. And we don't have to change that. but we have to feel the hard feelings that come up from that. And let that be the thing that we learn. See what I'm saying? Exactly, BKF. It's a journey. It's totally a journey. And this is the journey of self-love. I truly believe. So if you're interested, check out the tools in my Linktree, and I'm going to sign off. But I really appreciate you all being here. I really, truly love that you're here, that you took the time to stay here, that you took the time to invest in yourself, and I hope you learned something. I've got all of my like little pieces of paper here that I'm going to clean up. That's kind of the fun part of the practice that we did today. If you've been here this whole time, I always find it funny because like there's been times where I have like done this practice like before bed because I can't go to sleep angry, and I'm like fuck you, and then I like throw all of the they keep going down my shirt. I keep like all of these little pieces of paper, and then I'll like wake up in the morning and they're just like scattered on the floor, and then I just laugh. And then you get to just like laugh because then I'm like, that looks crazy. Like I look like a crazy person. But then you get to laugh, and that's also a part of the journey. So I love you all so much, and I'll be back on next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and I'm sending you all lots of love and light in the meantime. I hope you have a great week until then. Bye.